Hello, welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at reCappin Podcast.
Also, comment, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We would love to hear your ratings of the movies and shows we review.
Email us your audio file to recappingpodcast@gmail.com and we will play it during the show.
Or DM us on Instagram and we will post and read it on air.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Ashley.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm Gucci, living my best Black life. How are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well. I have a 5-year-old now, and life is beautiful.
Beautiful.
Waiting to buy my Beyonce tickets.
Same. Still stressed.
So, guess what, Ashley?
What's up?
We are in Black History Month.
Sure.
Even though for you and I, being Black is a 365 24/7.
Yeah. And I agree with
7 days a week type of deal here.
I saw the old clip of Whitney and Bobby that they posted on the Shade Room, and Bobby said, I think we need years. I think every other year should be Black History Year. I rarely agree with Bobby Brown, but I agree with him on that.
And one. You know he was probably high when he said that. They
was definitely on something, probably, because they were both a little turned up. Could have just been off of some sexual relations. That's a high as well. You never know. They were young and in love, Delora. They were young and in love, living their best lives.
Bobby.
It's funny too, because I don't remember seeing clips like that of her when I was younger, when I was like obsessed with her. So it's funny.
You didn't watch the Bobby Brown reality TV show?
Yeah, but that was, we were older by then. Like my obsession was gone by then. When I was a kid and I was still obsessed with him. I was like, she does drugs and stuff. I was like, no, she doesn't. I was adamant. I just knew, because kids know everything. I just knew. What, he doesn't do drugs? What? So it's interesting that this stuff existed, but obviously there wasn't the internet the way that it is now. So right. I didn't know. I didn't see any of this stuff.
Well, speaking of a person who was very famous during that time, Eddie Murphy, we are recapping
her ex.
Yes, You People. It is a rom-com available on Netflix, rated R. It's an hour and 58 minutes. Here's a quick summary. A new couple and their families reckon with modern love amid cultural clashes, societal expectations, and generational differences. Here's the cast. Eddie Murphy as Akbar, Woody Mohammed.
I'm mad you threw the Woody in there. He would be so upset. It's Akbar, motherfucker.
Whoa, EJ said, yo, mama named you Woody. I'm about you Woody. Jonah Hill as Ezra Cohen. Lauren London as Amira Mohammed. Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Shelley Cohen. Mia Long as Fatima Mohammed. And David Duchovny as Arnold. This movie was directed by Kenya Burris. Screenwriters Jonah Hill and Kenya Burris, which makes a lot of sense because I felt like there was a lot of improv going on. Producers Jonah Hill, Kenya Burris, and Kevin Meisher. Rotten Tomatoes critics gave this film 43%. Everyday People audience score 40%. Google users gave this film 70%. Ashley, what's your grade for You People?
I am right on the same wave as Google users today. It is a C for me. And so the first 30 minutes of this film, I laughed at the first time I watched. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. But all in all, I did not love this film, but I did love this cast. Especially enjoyed seeing my girl, Lauren London, step out and pop up on my screen. Enjoy her so much, but the movie itself, it wasn't one of the best. I'm sorry. And the whole kumbaya of it all just I think I don't want to say threw me, but it was definitely very puffy, fluffy way to resolve these issues, in my opinion. And also, let's be honest, Lauren London and Jonah Hill, they seem like homies, but they don't seem like lovers. So that's my 2 cents, Delora. What about you?
You and I are on the same page. When I first started this film, a lot of it was funny. Not at the very beginning, and we'll talk about that, but him at the synagogue, even Eddie Murphy, he had moments that were hilarious, but I think they didn't get to the heart of the topics. I feel like they were so busy trying to exploit the differences that it just seems like a clumsy way of showing how an interracial couple come together. That is just absolutely, I wouldn't say it's unrealistic, but it was a lot. It was a lot. They were doing too much. I felt like that fluffy ending was them trying to make it all better, and they didn't fool nobody. So I gave this movie a C as well. All right. With that being said, let's get into spoiler alert. We have 2 young people. We have Ezra and Amira, both trying to find their way in their careers as well as love. Ezra comes from a strong Jewish family. It's so funny. I don't know much about Judaism, but the one thing that I did know was that you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery with tattoos. And so that banter between him and his mother about his tattoos was actually kind of funny for me.
It's hilarious. Respectfully. I don't care. I'm going to be dead. Respectfully. Telling you, those first 30 minutes were hilarious. Even with him and his sister going back and forth.
Yes.
Hilarious.
She's like, you look like a dad who lost his kid at Coachella.
Mm-hmm.
You look like the principal for a Jewish version of Hogwarts. Hilarious. But you can tell Ezra is very much ingrained into the culture. It was giving me...
I love how everybody kept saying the culture. What culture are we talking about specifically, sir? Black culture? Why are you just calling it the culture?
But our culture has always been referenced as the culture.
Not by white people. Not as far as I knew. I didn't know they just said the culture when they talk about our culture. I thought they said black culture. Like we say the culture because we're black.
This is coming to me now, but do you remember that movie from the early 2000s about the rich white boy who wanted to hang out with the black folks? Taye Diggs was an actor who was acting like a thug. Malibu's Most Wanted.
Oh my God. With Jamie, what's his name? Jamie Kennedy?
Yes. And I think Regina Hall is in that too.
What a time to be alive.
What a time. But I'm not going to lie. Ezra was giving me those vibes just a little bit though, because it's like you had nothing to do with the culture outside of having maybe one black friend and liking sneakers. Like,
I wish they had delved a little bit more into like maybe his childhood, where he went to school. Like all of that would have added layers on to not make it seem like he was just a poser. I have to be honest, I didn't take him as being a poser. I really did take it as sincerity. But in reality, if I were to meet a Ezra, I wouldn't know which way to take it, right? I don't know how you grew up. I don't know about your upbringing. So did you just come to this at 35 years old and suddenly want to start dressing like us and talking like us and listening to hip hop music? Or did you, as we talked about, those formative years when you go to school, who your social circle is, all of that informs obviously your tastes and who you become when you grow up. But you know, one of the most shocking things to me about this?
What? Based
on how he is, I'm shocked that he was not already always pursuing black women.
Right. Exactly. Right. That's a good point. The fact that this is his first black girlfriend does seem to be a bit of a shock. I also put in my notes that he was giving me Chad Hanks vibes at one point.
Not Chad. Not Chad. They missed They missed a golden opportunity. Where was his cameo? Where was Chet Hanks' cameo?
They have their meet cute. Whenever we talk about a wonderful rom-com, we always love to talk about chemistry and meet cutes. So for this particular story, he thought she was an Uber driver. She, in fact, was not. It was funny when she was like, "Oh, you think we all look alike?" And he was like, "But you do."
She did. Whoever that actress was that they got that picture of, I was like, I have never seen anybody
dimples?
who looks like Lauren London like this before. They did a great job. But also when he was like, this is not a racism, I was like, yes! A
racism? Exactly. And then when he was like, should we do a 23andMe situation?
Seriously.
My question to you is, what were your thoughts on this meet cute? And would you have agreed to drive him after knowing it was all a mistake?
I would have had to have been attracted to him at that point, I guess, to want to continue this weird series of events. And that's not the vibe I got. I just got, she was lost. And so she just took him up on his offer to help her get to where she was going. I guess it's also a level of desperation. That could have been another thing because LA traffic is terrible. If you needed to get to a gig and you're already running late, then I might have gone ahead. That's another thing. Let me not lie, because desperation could have called for you to be like, okay, stranger. But it seemed a little odd again because stranger danger and Black people, we don't play that usually.
We do not, no.
It depends on the set of circumstances, I guess, is my answer. How did I feel about the meet cute? It was funny. I thought her reaction was spot on. Like, I feel like Lauren London was just being Lauren London in that moment. Like, get the fuck out of my car. Help. Danger. What is happening? This random white man has gotten in my back seat. Yeah. So I thought it was really funny. But again, there are certain romantic comedies or whatever that there's still a level of like chemistry you get immediately in a scene like that and like a vibe. Nah. But then I heard Lauren London say this was low-key how they met in real life.
Yes.
Which is funny. It added a layer of humor after the fact. But I wasn't catching the vibes, Delora. What'd you think?
I mean, not all love stories look the same, right? We have covered some really great romances with like intense chemistry. But this was just very chill, very LA, very like you're my best friend turned lover situation. And that's how I interpret it. If she like it, I love it. I did
That's
know
shady, though.
I did know towards the end in particular, Jonah had some really beautiful eyes. I'll give him that.
I saw that on Twitter a lot. People were like, have his eyes always been this blue or are they CGI'd for this movie?
I don't recall. And I will say that mustache and beard saved his life. Because, I mean, if he didn't have that beard and mustache, I would have a really hard time seeing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even about, I guess, just about the physical for me. That's not really.
And I'm not trying to say he's not attractive, but I liked him with the mustache and beard.
No, I hear you. I'm just saying for me, in terms of when I'm thinking about their vibe, I know there was a lot of discussion on these internets about, oh, he would never be at a bag of chick like Lauren London, which I don't think is probably actually accurate because we as women find a lot of facets of a person attractive. Exactly. The
Take
funny
my panties. Dudes, no, just wait. First of all, I'm joking.
I was gonna let you have that, girl.
How do you think Pete Davidson gets all the ladies?
I mean, it's a fact that so many comedians I see, the levels up of their significant others is something. But it's not even that. It's just, again, it's a vibe. Like, you can't explain it till you see it. You can't explain it until you feel it. But
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it.
It's an initial thing.
When watching her in this film, I was thinking a lot about her real life.
Exactly. They played a Nipsey Hussle song right after this scene. So how can I detach from her and Nipsey Hussle and the love story that we all know about in real life? Exactly.
And part of me also feels like we got what we got. This is, I think, her first project after...
except for the one with her and Michael B. Jordan, where... he was in
The Soldier.
Yes, that was, I think, literally the very first one she ever agreed to go back to, because he
talked
about
she had a much smaller role, right?
Yes, yeah. It wasn't a star turn the way that it is now. So this is her first expanded role, which Kenya talks about. Like, she doesn't do anything, so it was an honor. They say she was harder to get than Eddie Murphy to agree to do this movie. Yeah, so Kenya said, yeah.
I believe it. Let's talk about this podcast, The Mo and Easy Show. The movie starts off with them bantering, volleying off of each other, talking about America's first Black president. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it now one bit.
You ain't like Barack, the idea of Barack doing a little gay stuff when he's on coke?
It just seems so unnecessary. Like, who talks like this? And then
I thought it was hilarious because it's so absurd.
It's so absurd. And Mo is the biggest instigator of all time, by the way. Like,
I really enjoyed Sam J, though. I wasn't familiar with Sam J before this movie, and I was like, I'm gonna have to watch her stand-up special now. Like, I enjoyed her humor.
Would you listen to this particular podcast?
That's a good question that I didn't even think about. Maybe. I mean, I think that they seem like they were engaging. And again, I enjoy Sam now that I've gotten a chance to hear her and hear her humor and all of that. So probably I would check it out if someone had recommended it to me, because one thing about podcasts is sometimes you don't know the ones you don't know about. So yes. I would definitely give this one a listen. But I have to say, y'all need to put some respect on podcasting in this film, because they was trying to play podcasting as if this is not a profession.
Was one of my questions. I'm like, the way they were shitting on podcasts.
Girl.
Like it's some little hobby over there. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, is it really that hard out here in these streets? Like, I've never gotten anybody to react to me in any type of negative way when I told them I have a podcast, right? Like, they'll be like, oh, cool. They'll be like, what is it about? I'm like, don't expect NPR. Okay.
That is not what we do here.
That's not what we do here. But
even still, there's a difference between like, oh, I have a podcast that I enjoy and I do versus this is my career. Being a podcaster is also a career. Like,
very much true.
Also something to do for a living. So granted, the date he went on was a young lady who had just gotten her PhD from Harvard or something like that. So one could say she may be looking for a different type of man, which, okay.
Yeah.
But don't shit on podcasting.
But is it me, or were they trying too hard?
With what? With the podcast?
With their conversation and topics on their podcast.
I mean, it was very curated, right? Like, it was very much written, a script that you pulled that conversation out of versus probably as free-flowing as we may be used to from a lot of the podcasts we listen to. Too hard
is like, why are we talking about our first president and gay stuff? Like, why are we even painting this picture? I
thought it was funny.
You thought it was funny?
Yes,
I felt like
ridiculous.
A 70-year-old woman with
clutching your pearls,
JFK and Martin Luther King on my wall, clutching my pearls, saying, "No, you did not."
I thought it was hilarious. I bet Barack would laugh at that. Even them talking about him, the cigarettes, the brand of cigarettes he smoked and stuff, like, that was hilarious. Hilarious.
My favorite back and forth between the two wasn't even on air. It was them describing what type of Drake he was. I mean, everything from the Views Drake to CLB Drake, which is my least favorite Drake, by the way.
Yeah.
Talking about, you're a Pusha T, but I need more of a future.
Yeah.
But when she said Houston, Vegas Drake with no beard, that took me out, Ashley.
And a big upper lip. I was going to say, again, I feel like these conversations were a platform for Sam's comedy and humor. I almost feel like it's like Kevin Hart at the beginning of his career. He so often played that sidekick character, but it was to allow him to get his jokes off, I feel like. So I feel like that's who she was in this movie, just getting her jokes off.
This is completely unrelated, but I have to ask you, is Drake cosplaying or is he evolving?
The hell if I know. I don't know a dude like that.
A huge debate about him and how he like literally code switches out of all the environments. If you really think about it, all of them.
I feel like Drake just enjoys the public perceptions that are out there about him, right? He just plays into things and likes to, have a good time. I mean, he's filthy rich now. His stamp on, music is solidified at this point. So yes. I think he just has a good time with the hairstyles. I saw a video earlier talking about POV.
And the pictures.
Yeah, POV. You had a party with Drake and you see Drake. There's this white dude and Drake like puts his finger in his drink, slaps the cup out of his hand. Like, I think Drake just has a good time. I think he just be out here living his best life. That's really what I think. Don't take himself that seriously.
So the relationship between Ezra and Amira grows. It's not love unless you have matching sneakers, Ashley.
I've never done that. Have you done that?
I have not. No, I'm not a big matchy person, but I used to be so against it when I was younger because I was anti everything. But now I kind of was like, oh, maybe it might be kind of cute every once in a while or something. I don't know.
I never say never because I feel like I get really gung-ho about something and then I end up doing it in subsequent years. But I've never really gravitated towards the let's wear the same outfit or same outfit, different colors and all that. Like, I still want to be an individual within this relationship, but
yeah,
have fun. Maybe if it was like, did you see the picture, the couple who did the pictures, like they went to like JCPenney or one of those and did like a bunch of weird poses for like couple pictures. Like, if it was a joke, I'd do it then. It was, I'll send it to you. It was hilarious and ridiculous.
Definitely want to see that. 6 months later, she meets the parents. The story is old as time. Like, guess who's coming to dinner? Obviously, with a 2023 twist. Speaking of funny, when she was literally going down the list, like, oh, your hair, your nails, look at your dress. And he was like, look at her earlobes. Like, I loved it because he was calling her out on her shit.
Mm-hmm. I love those two. She was definitely the stereotypical white woman I'm meeting the first Black person I've ever had a real conversation with in my life.
It's like no one asks you to lie about your relationship with a person of color. Like, Lupita works for you. You don't have to be like sisters because she works for you.
Family. This isn't like a job for her. And he was like, I think this is like a job for her. Dude, she hasn't run to Whole Foods for you for free. So
have you ever had this experience when you interact with white people and they just try to drum up the first Black person that comes to mind just to have a conversation with you?
I have had so many cringy moments if I look back over the course of especially my career. I remember I was introduced when I was an intern as a young lady bebopping around the halls.
I've definitely been called sassy. And I don't consider myself that at all.
I've had a lot of the microaggressions, too passionate. I've had a lot of those things, but as a whole, I mean, I think we all have experienced them. We can all point to moments, but I have yet to experience it in this intimate of a setting, thankfully. Yet to experience it where somebody's like, someone I'm trying to get to know's parent or anything like that has said anything like this to me.
I'm surprised they didn't name her Karen.
Don't do Julia Louis-Dreyfus like that. That's why. Can't do Julia Louis-Dreyfus like that. I bet she had a ball with this, though.
Ashley, do you think her back was hurting?
Please explain.
Because she carried this movie for me.
I mean, she is the Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
She did more for me than even Eddie Murphy, frankly.
I can't
His
say
jokes
that.
were too much for me. Like, I didn't like when he was in the restaurant talking about, being the darkest, nappiest person in the room. Like, who has those conversations?
Oh, there's definitely people who have those conversations. That's for sure. But I thought he was funny when he was talking about, what did he say? Something like, I'm hating the world more and more every day. Like, that made me laugh out loud. And then when he was with his wife before they met Ezra, and he was saying, your white granddaddy, that's the reason why he sprinkled that in there and got my babies like this and got them this light skin and got her, she's confused in the head. You know what I'm saying? Like, things like that.
The confusion.
The confusion. Like, those things made me crack up laughing. But they were equal a little bit to me because of the roles they played and kind of the banter that they both were able to have. Yes. Jonah Hill, his interactions with people carried this movie for me. Like, Jonah Hill
did it.
Jonah Hill cracked me up so many times, even with his interruptions, with his facial expressions, with everything. Like Jonah Hill was the one who really made it worthwhile for me.
So the thing about Jonah Hill is, obviously I find him funny. I think the funniest for me was definitely 21 Jump Street. 21 and 22 Jump Street. His chemistry with Channing Tatum is legendary, frankly. He also had a black girlfriend in that one too. 22 Street. Look at him. But while I was watching it, I was like, this is the same kid from Superbad, Ashley.
Yes, man. Superbad was hilarious at the time. Granted, I'm sure if I rewatch it now, I'll be like, this is very problematic. But at the time, and it introduced us to Emma, I loved that movie.
I do too. Exhibit, really? So the last time you saw a black person do anything was Pimp My Ride. Is that right?
Basically. I just wonder what it'd be like if it was the flip side. Like, what if you talked about that one Jewish person you knew?
Yo.
Or that, you know, or I just go up to him and be like, you know what? I love Seinfeld. Just so you know. Genius. And I just left the conversation.
You know, I watch Friends every Thursday night.
Listen, you know who you look like? What's that one white woman's name? You know who I'm saying. You know, you guys know who I'm talking about, right? That one white woman from that one really popular show back in the day. Oh, Rachel. Did you get that before? Rachel, you look just like, no, Monica. No, she actually looks like Monica, guys, because obviously all the white women of that show look exactly the same. That's the point. Y'all don't understand. It's ridiculous. Like when me and Delora talked about the fact that we get mistaken for black women who look nothing like us. Nothing. And that's a norm.
A norm. Speaking to the relationship between Ezra and Amira, they're always willing to make things work. So I talked about the introduction, Ezra meeting Amira's parents for the first time. I don't know why he thought it was a good idea to meet them without her for the first time. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
He was just so gung-ho about proposing that he didn't think it through.
I mean, speaking of his banter, how do you go from Jesus to Forrest Gump?
To Malcolm X.
The GOAT.
And I was just thinking, like, do we really refer to Malcolm X as biracial? I don't think so. I don't think anyone thinks of it that way.
But Eddie Murphy's line, though, was priceless. He was like, so do you hang out in the hood all the time for our food and women?
Exactly. Nia Long. It's a valid question.
And honestly, that's probably what got me to watch this movie in the first place. That trailer, when he said that, I was like, oh, I need to know what's happening here.
But it's also that so accurate to me, cultural representation of how she interacted with his parents when she first met them versus him, the level of comfort. When she meets his mother, she calls her Miss Shelley because we don't refer to our elders just off top by their first names. That's right.
A great point.
It has to be, even at our big ages, even people that are, I'm not that much younger than, if I met you as a child, I still call you Miss or Mr.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so then you see when he meets her parents and he's just like, what's up? How are you guys? Tell me how you're doing. How's work? Like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Put some respect on this interaction and calm yourself down a little bit. That was very accurate to me.
In my opinion, justifies Art Bark's reaction to him initially too, because he's like, you're coming to ask my daughter's hand in marriage, but you never met me. You take me out to lunch at Roscoe Chickens and what? Like, how do you even know I like this? Like, you know, because that could be also viewed as making assumptions as well.
Yeah. Whereas for him, it's probably like, but this is where I love this place. Like, this is where I like to come. But we don't know you, Ezra.
Very true. This relationship is pretty fast, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think? So they meet.
Yes, it was fast.
They meet, hang out with each other. They have their, one-on-one time before they meet the parents. They meet each other's parents. They get engaged. They buy a house, and he quits his job to pursue his dream as a full-time podcaster. a lot is going on and the pressure is mounting. One of the things about the relationship that I really appreciated was they were always able to somehow come back together and regroup.
I think it's supposed to show, just like Harry and Meghan, that there was a foundation there that helped to always bring them back to center, even when you have the noise of the outside world, that's especially your immediate family, that's causing conflict and turmoil and all of that. So that was nice to see. But man, this would be a lot for anybody. And I was like, especially the extremes of the cultural differences in this case, and of the not just cultural, religious. The religious would be huge.
So that epic dinner between the families. So in their one-on-one conversation, they realized family was going to be their biggest obstacle. So they decided to bring them together. And the conversation was off the walls. What I will give them credit for is that no one yelled at each other, technically, even after the Ko-fi was set on fire.
I wish they would have brought those receipts out of the purse.
First of all, she was like, baby, can you get my purse? I need to get my slave receipts.
I wanted to know what she had. Please.
That had me rolling. But, you know, I think the whole conversation between Black people and Jewish people, everyone making a dig at each other, I found it interesting that when it came down to the argument, Amir's parents' Blackness was ultimately forefront, even over the faith part, compared to the conversations that were going towards Ezra's family, which was predominantly around Judaism, or, you know, their faith. And I found that to be really interesting. Did you notice that?
I didn't until you just said that, but I think that, again, makes a lot of sense probably, and speaks to the way that maybe that perception is in real life when it comes to the fact that as Black people, we're always made to be hyper aware and hyper conscious of our Blackness, whereas whiteness is not a thing that they're conscious of and are reminded of on a regular basis, because they're not othered in the same way, even Jewish white people, because obviously Judaism is a faith. It's also an identity and a racial identity for a lot of people based on history and all the obviously atrocities that happened. So I'm sure it was intentional, but I mean, it's great that you picked up on it, because it's not really something I noticed, maybe just because I'm too used to it. So I don't even think about it. It's like, yeah, that makes sense.
So Ezra and Mara decided to come together again after that disastrous dinner. Their solution is to spend more time with each other's family individually. We have Ezra hanging out with Abark, and we have Amira hanging out with Shelly. These interactions were hilarious. The niggas in Paris bit had me rolling, Ashley. He was like, so who's in Paris? Why do you like this song so much?
It's pretty controversial to have left Kanye associated music in this film.
You think so?
Yeah. I watched the interview. I watched like half of an interview that Kenya did with FM 97 or 97 FM, something like that, with Ebro, Laura, and
like
Rosenberg. He spoke about the fact that for a minute it was an issue because they shot this 3 years ago. So
3 years ago.
Yeah. So once all the stuff with Kanye, Kyrie, all that stuff started happening, obviously it became, especially between Jewish and Black communities, it became a bigger thing. And I guess he said for a minute there was a discussion about pulling Kanye's music. He was like, no, I'm not going to censor the music. You know, there's a separation between art and artists. And if that's the case, take Yeezus, the documentary, down, or Genius rather, take that down, X, Y, and Z. So given that it's coming out now, I felt like that was still a pretty controversial, like I wondered how some people felt about it or took it just because of what's happened now.
You know, I'm glad that you brought that up, because in my mind, I still understand why they decided to keep this particular song.
For the relevancy of the scene.
Yes.
But it's also our perception is going to be different possibly than some others who take issue with the things he said. I mean, not that we don't, but I'm saying have a more direct impact by the things he said.
To the Black community, to the Jewish community. Absolutely. That's a great point. Shelly out here singing that one Black song that she knows in that car. Did you think Ezra knew how to play basketball?
No, I thought he was going to embarrass him too, but I was pleasantly surprised that he was not able to. Because again, this goes back to, I don't feel like we got enough context about how Ezra really grew up.
Yes.
Yeah, and like what informed him to be how he is. And it comes obviously what they try to portray from a genuine place. So I liked that he was able to show up and show out even after being taken to a barbershop where he could have been killed. Because he could have been killed. Let's be honest.
He really could. He really could. I love the scene too, because my dad, he's a basketball player. He played basketball, he went to college, wanted to go pro. And all my life, he was on the heavier side, right? So still very tall, thick. Whenever he would show up to a basketball court to want to like play, nobody really looked at him like, he can't play. He's too heavy, or whatever. And then he makes that first bucket.
Show him, Dad. Show him, Dad.
Who needs to run? You're going to shoot it from any part of this court. And
so you're saying he's Steph Curry out here.
The shelf, right?
Buckets.
That always tickles me. It's like you can never underestimate. Although I watched so much basketball growing up, I have a real talent on identifying like who can actually play and who can't. Because sometimes those guys, the guys with the best gear, usually can't play. That's just a cheat code.
Out there to look pretty.
Yeah. But that tickled me and it reminded me of that. So, hi, Dad. I'm sure I'll get a kick out of that. The families are doing too much, Ashley. They're out here making plans for this wedding without consulting the couple. They have 2 wedding planners making decisions on who's going to lead the wedding. It's a lot. Do you think the parents should have known better? Or is it the kids' responsibility to bring them together and make a plan?
The last part. They're grown. They're adults. These are not children. These are their parents, but they are not children.
But the parents are making plans, hiring people, not even consulting.
And I would so not show up. That's how maybe that's my personality though. Everyone's not like that. Some people will be much more accommodating, but I'm of the mentality where as an adult, people can have the best laid plans they want to. Y'all can go ahead and plan a whole wedding. Y'all want to pay for it? Bet you I'll go ahead and elope because this is their day. This is their function. Why they're letting their parents have such a say, I don't know, having Tron suits or whatever he was suggesting. Only 40 though. So if you got more than 40 guests, I don't know what y'all about to do.
Did you notice all the alum from Blackish and Grownish?
Of course. It wouldn't be a Kenya Bears production if he ain't put people on and have them in here.
I was convinced some of the sets were from Blackish. I'm like, their bedroom gave me major Blackish vibes, as well as the dining room for Shelley and Arnold's house.
That did kind of look like the Blackish set a little bit. I mean, I'm sure the aesthetic is one that Kenya enjoys. They also talked about some of the references to, in one of the interviews I watched, to Eddie Murphy's film. So like the barbershop reminded them of Coming to America.
Yes.
And then the dinner table of the Clumps on Nutty Professor.
Oh, I get that. Okay. Yes. Their relationships keep taking hits, Ashley, because they go on their bachelor and bachelorette parties with their future in-law.
I loved all the cameos.
Yeah, they were amazing. Carisha was hilarious. It was wonderful to see everybody, for sure. Should Arbach have been at that bachelor party in Vegas?
Of course not. Of course not. Who wants their future father-in-law to tag along on your last hurrah as a single man? He knew exactly what he was doing. His intention was to shit on his good time, and he succeeded.
I really did enjoy Amira's brother, Omar. He was so funny, and I think he's cute too. Like, he's just so funny.
Mm-hmm.
That bachelorette party, how do you get, again, niggas from dancers? I didn't even see how she snatched old girl's wig off her head either.
It was a disaster. Now, why she invited, that's the stark difference too, right? Why is it that she would want her future mother-in-law to come on her bachelorette weekend, and then Ezra completely being mortified, obviously, because he was about to do some coke and some other things,
strippers,
at his bachelor party. And I think that's real too, the differences between the shenanigans sometimes between bachelor and bachelorette parties, when women be like, for a bachelor party, I made pottery.
Yeah, or went to the spa, which is ideal.
I was like, you went and made pottery for your bachelorette? Is that
Ashley, what people do? You want flying dicks at
maybe
your bachelorette?
Maybe. Let's get a little weird. Maybe. I've never even been to a male review yet. So,
Me either. Should we do the Thunder from Down Under?
Is that the name of a show?
In Vegas?
Yes. See, I was still thinking like the Magic Mike.
Magic Mike.
Yeah.
He also has a review too. I don't know if he, put them out of business. I haven't looked at Vegas in a long time, but I've never attended a male review either. So
yeah, I'm just saying, don't let the guys have all the fun. Let's get a little weird. I'm not saying you should sleep with the strippers the night before your wedding or any of those things, people.
Don't be like Mario Lopez.
Yeah, I'm just saying, let's have a little fun.
You remember that? His first wife? Of course I
do. With with my girl from Doritos commercials and from Felicity. But I just don't know if pottery would be the way to go for me. But Shelley was a disaster, as one should imagine when she's completely out of her element, and her poor daughter just sitting there like, I apologize for my mother.
Shelley definitely gives me, I would have voted for Obama for a third term for sure.
So does that mean she secretly wants to take over our bodies?
I'm not going that far, but okay. I definitely was just referencing that. That line came up multiple times in my head while watching this film.
Just checking. That's my next step now. It's like, how much do you love us? You love us so much you want to be us? Clocked it. Checked it.
You're so funny. The pressure is mounting, and Amir didn't get the job, and she's upset that Ezra offered to call somebody on her behalf. Do you think that was reasonable? Should she have accepted his help?
I don't know. That was a funny scene though, because I was like, she really pissed that you trying to use your white privilege to help her. I don't know if I would have reacted in the same way, but I get the sentiment that she felt like at the engagement party or whatever it was, when I forget who said it, like, oh, let's cheers to our newfound generational wealth. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just,
Fatima said that.
Yeah, it's just, it's a different way of thinking and being after, especially the environment that Amira grew up in and her parents and all of that. I understood why she felt somewhat offended, especially because she's been doing her damn thing all this time. She hasn't needed a handout or needed anybody's help in her career. But would I have passed up that opportunity? I don't know, Delora. I don't know.
It's a firm no. You can't do everything by yourself. I mean, that's the one thing that in our community we complain about, having to start over more times than not, right? If you have access, the whole point of people going to Harvard and MIT at the end of the day is not solely about the education. It is about the networking.
It is. I
know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
I just think we obviously take it differently because we know the struggle and we know the hardships, and yeah.
But you all are supposed to be a partnership. And if he has something in his, resources that could help you, why not? That's all I'm trying to say. Why are you going against the grain? Let's go with the flow, baby. Go with the
Take advantage of this white man, is what you say.
Because I'm tired. I am tired. I don't want to be going up the hill when I can catch a ride. No.
Got it.
Oh my gosh. Their relationship come to head at this freaking rehearsal dinner. It was so sad. Like, it's supposed to be a fun time in your life, and you have people giving these trash ass speeches talking about storming the Capitol and vaccines making you gay.
Those are the moments where I would have heavily questioned if I could have really done that. I'd be like, I gotta be around these people for the rest of my life. But see,
because it is, you are marrying their family,
yeah,
right?
But he was just a friend though. So I'm like, y'all can go. Y'all could go.
But Arnold's still talking about freaking exhibit. But Eddie Murphy's speech was so unnecessary. It was giving Crazy Rich Asians for me.
Good reference.
It will never be good enough. What did you think about them confronting their parents, their future in-laws?
Oh, Amira's was good. Right.
I liked hers more than Ezra's too. I agree.
Because Amira, again, and even in terms of their dynamic with each other's families, Amira had been the less vocal. She had been the more respectful, in my opinion. And it just came to a head. It was like, I'm so tired of this, of you. It was almost like you're fetishizing me and fetishizing my blackness and my exoticness or whatever it is you think. Because remember, one of the things the mom said is, I'm going to have black grandchildren. We're the future.
Yeah, future. Yep.
You know what I immediately thought of in that moment? Would that have been a better response from the royal family?
Yeah, because guess what? They would have protected her and used her. Well, that sounds awful. But yeah, that's rough. Because they would have used her. I mean, it's kind of like that black person. You know what it's like being the only black person in rooms during Black History Month. Everyone wants to look at you on what to do for programming, what to talk about. It's like, I'm here. And I think this is what the conversation is about. It's like, you let my race precede me,
my humanity,
and you knowing me, who
I am a human being.
I have likes and dislikes. We might actually have a lot in common, and I so happen to be black and you so happen to not be. Like, you know what I mean? But you would never get there when you just automatically try to think of what's black. Who's black?
Right.
I bet you know that person too, don't you?
Well, that's why I use the Seinfeld example, because imagine if all that I ever do when I try to find relatability with you is bring up something that has something to do with only one aspect of who you are, or what you look like, or what your sexual orientation is, or any of those things. Like, I am a human being first. Try to get to know me on just a basic human level. Have a conversation. Do we have anything in common? Maybe we both like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Maybe we both like basketball. Maybe we both like the same ice cream. I don't know. I'm just throwing out random things. Point is, they never even tried to get to know either of them, either side of the family, either of these individuals as just people, and especially get to know them as a couple.
Yes.
Maybe you would have more respect for their union if you actually got a chance to see them in action.
Agreed. Can love conquer all, Ashley? Because they ultimately broke up.
No, I don't think love conquers all, honestly. I think there are obstacles that get in the way, and not even just obstacles. Life can get in the way. But in this case, it was unfortunate for them, because it was almost one of those things of like, we should have shielded ourselves from this. We should have just lived our lives separate, gotten married, did what we wanted to do, and then maybe on occasion we'll hang out with the fam, because it was a disaster.
A disaster. 3 months later, I like to call this part of the movie The Parent Trap. Akbark and Shelley saw the error of their ways, and they tricked their son and daughter to go pick up some kicks at Culture. This is the kumbaya moment that you said that you did not enjoy.
No, it was rough.
This surprised wedding
with that CGI kiss at the end, I am convinced that was CGI'd.
Well, I think this was the first time we saw them kiss.
There were pecks, but that was a camera linger. And I was like,
it was definitely closed mouth too.
And it looked CGI. Like, I swear to y'all, if you go back
and rewind. You don't think they actually kiss?
I don't know what happened. If you go back and rewind, that it is not, it looks CGI. Just go back and look at it more time. It's just
so big that it looks like their face touched each other.
It could be, but I'm telling you, I felt this from my first and second watch, and then I heard Rachel Lindsay say she felt the same when they did a live airing and watch of it on Higher Learning Pod, and I was like, okay, so it's not just me. I am convinced it looked CGI. It did not look like it really happened. I was like, maybe it was COVID. Maybe it was still COVID, and she was like, I'm not really about to kiss him, so just go ahead and CGI us together.
What are your final thoughts on You People?
Like I said, I love the cast. Shout out to Lauren London's hairstylist, hairdresser. I was here for all the looks.
The makeup and the hair was on point.
All the looks. I still want to do that last like multi-braid style. Part of me feels like I'm gonna look too childish if I do it, but I'm tempted to try it. So
I mean, she's older than you, so why not?
She is, but sometimes I'll be looking childish, and I just don't like looking like a little kid. So, but it was super cute, and again, funny moments throughout. Not my favorite movie, not my favorite vehicle for any of these particular actors, but I loved seeing kind of them all come together. Yes. And see what would happen. There was some fun times throughout this feature. So, Lauren, keep your head up, baby.
Yes. To me, there was just a lack of attention to detail for this movie. This movie could have been a home run, but
I feel like Guess Who? Remember Guess Who?
Well, I was gonna get there. I have a list of interracial relationship movies that I feel like have done this better.
Yeah, Guess Who was and I was like, and Bernie Mac, like, yes.
So Guess Who came out in 2005. My personal all-time favorite that we might actually have to recap is two of them, but the first one, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, came out in 2002. Love. But what I will say is,
don't eat meat.
Yes, that is my favorite line.
Yes! I make lamb.
It's okay. I make lamb. I love it. But they really don't showcase his family that much. But I think they try to make the fact that her family was just so big and so, loud, so to speak, that, yeah, the cultural differences were definitely stark, but love that movie. But my personal fave, Something New.
Yeah.
5.
Mm-hmm. In my
Talk
collection.
About chemistry. Talk about chemistry.
Man, they did have bomb chemistry. So that's what I'm saying. It's there. It's real. It can happen. He made me fall in love with landscape architecture off that movie. I'm going to be honest.
But we didn't really get a chance to see his family as much. We only saw her family. So that's the only caveat for that particular movie. But overall, I feel like they clumsily navigated through racial differences in relationships because it was a lot. It was a lot, but there were definitely funny moments, and I loved everyone on the cast. So it was something special in that regard. The hair and makeup was fabulous. The cameos were a lot of fun, and it's great to see Eddie Murphy come out again. One of the things that he said in a recent interview, and I totally agree, is why doesn't Donkey have his own movie?
Oh, from Shrek?
Funnier than Puss in Boots. And Puss in Boots got a series and movies.
I never even watched that movie. So racism. That's all I got. They knew Donkey was a black man. They said, mm-mm.
Was it difficult for you to believe in Akbar's character, knowing that Eddie Murphy is with a white woman?
It's funny you say that because I Googled him today because I was like, isn't Eddie Murphy in real life with a white woman? But I couldn't remember as I was watching the movie, and then I confirmed. But it did not impact my ability to watch this because Eddie Murphy is an actor. And the depiction he's portraying is a real life version of people that I've met. So, in that regard, it had no bearing whatsoever on the believability for me. But one thing that did add believability for me, or at least a layer of like relatability, is the fact that Lauren London's parents are these people. Her father's Jewish
and black.
Mother's black.
Yes.
So I thought that was like very nice in terms of a touchstone of like, yeah, that makes sense.
This happens. It has happened
exactly
plenty of times before. I'm glad that you say that about Eddie Murphy being an actor, but this is definitely the most militant character I think he's been. I don't recall him ever being this black, for lack of better term.
Well, I mean, except for when he was an African prince and coming to America.
But he was being himself, but yeah. not.
I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, he was
militant.
He was from Zamunda, and he was not that he couldn't have still chosen a white woman when he came to sow his royal oats, but
sure.
No, I get what you're saying. He definitely was a pro-black character, and I don't think we've ever seen him play necessarily somebody who is staunchly pro-black.
Yes.
That's accurate.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, time for hitting gems, Ashley.
I have 3 plus an honorable mention today. So let's get into it. First one, Shotgun Wedding, Amazon Prime. I remember hearing about this being in production, and I didn't realize it was going to be another Amazon drop. I thought this was going to be a feature film coming out in theaters. So I was pleasantly surprised when it showed up.
They had to get a whole new leading man for that role, too.
Yep. This film is about a couple who gather for the ultimate destination wedding, but when the wedding party is taken hostage, the couple have to figure out how to save them. Now, this is very shallow, but J-Lo and Josh Duhamel is the caliber of good-looking togetherness that I need, because I still feel some type of way about her and Owen Wilson from Marry Me. I'm just going to be honest, and I'm sorry. That was not believable for me. Okay.
We went down this road before about our favorite, not necessarily non-eye candy leading men, but like endearing leading men. And I think Mark Ruffalo is probably up there.
Mark Ruffalo's up there. Owen Wilson for me is not. I'm sorry. I told you I was shallow. I apologize. Shout out to Lenny Kravitz, by the way, for expanding on his acting chops in this film. Really enjoyed.
Did we get abs? Did we get abs?
Girl, you got titties and all, he had the chesticles out. He had, he was doing his thing. It's Lenny Kravitz.
On mute. I don't want the world hearing me drool right now.
All right, my second hidden gem, Shrinking on Apple TV Plus. I like Jason Segel a lot, and I also like shows centered on therapy, a la a previous hidden gem of mine, In Treatment, that I'm still hoping has another season. So I had my eye on this drop coming out, and Jason stars along with Harrison Ford and Jessica Williams, who I also love. Jason plays a grieving therapist who starts to break the rules by telling his patients exactly what he thinks. There are 2 episodes out currently, and I want to say new episodes drop on Fridays. So I'm looking forward to seeing the continuation of this series. My third is a show called Extraordinary on Hulu. I stumbled upon this show, didn't know anything about it, but the premise was really interesting. It's set in a world in which people acquire a superpower on or around their 18th birthday, except for our main character, Jen. The first season is out. It's 8 30-minute episodes.
Not her being Maribel.
It's 8 30-minute episodes. Guys, I really feel like this is a one to check out, and let me know what you think. My honorable mention, So I was seeing tweets about Jonah Hill because of You People. And I saw a recommendation for a documentary he did on his therapist on Netflix called Stutz. As I mentioned, I gravitate towards content on therapy. So I definitely wanted to give this a watch. And it was interesting, especially to see a patient turn the tables on their therapist and the dynamic that they had because of that, right? So I also just got some great gems of advice from this psychiatrist who was highlighted, Phil Stutz. I probably need to watch it again just to utilize and write down some of the tools he provided. But I thought it was a really well done documentary. So definitely check that one out as well. Like I said, it's Stutz on Netflix. And I apologize that for my first section of Hidden Gems and Black History Month, these are not blacker, but I will do better next time. All right, Delora, what you got?
I have 2 hidden gems this week. One is not hidden at all because it is HBO's #1 show, The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
There are only 3 episodes that are available. And this 3rd episode, man, oh man, oh man. So
episode 2 fucked me up, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was a fan of The Walking Dead, and I was in it until Glenn. And if you know, you know. Okay. But, and then life happens. You know what I mean? Like, you used to watch Scandal, and then stuff got too stressful, and you kind of don't want to watch that type of stuff. So, you know, watching zombies was just not a thing for me after a while, too. And so I was a little hesitant getting into this series, but it's starting to get really good. And this last episode is the one that I want to highlight. And it really warmed my heart and ripped my heart out in the same hour.
Sheesh.
So
you really be trying to take us on an emotional roller coaster, don't
you? They really are. This is the episode that really hooked me, I guess I should say. Available on HBO. Check it out. It's appointment television, y'all, because if you don't watch it live, you'll be hearing about it on social media. My second hidden gem is a song. It's music. It is from this young African-American actor. His name is Jacob Latimore. You've seen him on the show The Chi. He's also in the recent reboot for House Party. But he's a singer.
I didn't love that movie, though. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
And he sings R&B, but this latest song with the video called Selfish has some Afrobeat infusion situation going on, and it's so good. Lyrically, it doesn't speak to my life, but the dancing, the singing, the beats, it's a vibe. You know me, I love all types of music. I love everything from K-pop to some country, to some emo rock and roll. And this right here is a song that I think you'll enjoy. So that's all I have for today, Ashley.
All righty, kids. Well, we appreciate you sticking with us for our recap of You People. Feel free to shoot us some comments, share this episode out. We appreciate you guys. Leave us a rating or a review on Apple and Spotify, and we'll keep this train going. So we'll be back with our next Quick Headlines and Hot Topics episode. In the meantime, be blessed.
Bye.